Good morning, sis. Good morning, YouTube family. Welcome back.
Good morning.
We're on lesson 258, and I'll be reading it this morning. Thanks again for joining us, everyone, and thanks for the comments on the YouTube channel. We noticed that the numbers have increased, and we just wanted to give you heartfelt thanks for helping us get Alga's rhythm back.
Alga's rhythm?
Apparently Alga needed some rhythm and we got the algorithm back online. I don't know, but thank you.
Thank you for doing the 3 steps. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, lesson 258. Let me remember that my goal is God. Let me remember that my goal is God. All that is needful is to train our minds to overlook all little senseless aims and to remember that our goal is God. His memory is hidden in our minds, obscured but by our pointless little aims, which offer nothing and do not exist. Shall we continue to allow God's grace to shine in unawareness, while the toys and trinkets of the world are sought instead? God is our only goal, our only love. We have no aim but to remember Him. Our goal is only to follow in the way that leads to you. We have no goal but this. What could we want but to remember you? What could we seek but our identity? Let me remember that my goal is God. I was about to say, let me remember that God is my goal. Yes.
Yeah. So for me, what drives this lesson home for me is let me remember that my singular goal is God. For me, it eradicates all other goals. I have one singular goal from moment to moment to moment. And that is my aim. God, that's it.
And the consistency of our practice will indicate to the level that God is our only goal. And it's not to judge, but can we be aware of and notice and then give it to Holy Spirit where we're still thinking that pursuing aims or goals or have objectives in addition or even apart from God, right? Anything in addition is apart from God. While we're still seeking God and something else, there's this underlying conviction that either God's going to require our sacrifice or that there's something that we still want using an independent will. It's a denial that God's will and our will are the same. In other words, it's fueling mythical me. So you're on the spiritual path and you do want God, but I want this and something else. So just notice that with objectivity and to see if you can identify what that is, what that belief is. What's going to be taken from you if you really consent to allow God's will to be your will? What do you think you would lose? Or what is it that you think you're going to gain by doing something independently of God's directive, chasing something that God didn't set in motion to begin with? Those can be just calmly looked upon and exposed with Holy Spirit and with radical honesty be shown where the ego's hiding in that reasoning. Because we truly do know ultimately that at the end that there's seek and don't find. So whatever the holdout is, we want to see, wow, I really thought that there was something there to obtain. but it's nothing. It'll never satisfy. It's not true. It's not even real. So that we can become more undivided in our practice for just let God be our only aim, our only goal. And when you have that felt state, right, we all know there's nothing missing. It's what impels us to stay on this path. The tears and the chills that come up, at least for myself. Go ahead, sis.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, sis. And in addition to that, too, I think that facing the ego's challenges is a big one to overcome, not to actually go down the rabbit hole and believe that we are responsible, the mythical me, the personal ego self, that we're responsible for actually solving the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's a big one, and
it is.
We just need to witness our thinking process whenever we're triggered. And we need to be radically present, mindful, without any self-condemnation, to look at all of that and just to cut it off at the pass. As soon as there's a trigger, we've got to realize, wow, I really do believe that this particular trigger or the issue, the problem, is real. So if I'm really believing it's real, I've already gone down the rabbit hole. Because if it's real, it cannot be forgiven.
Right. That's right. Yeah. He says you can't overlook what you first saw clearly or made real for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, the next thing then is to come to peace within and ask myself, do I want this? Do I want this to be real?
Yeah.
I mean, do I? If I want to solve the problem independently apart from Holy Spirit, then I must want the problem to be real.
Right. Yeah.
So that leads me to the...
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, sis. That just leads me to the last step, or the next step, which is, the next step is, do I want to be wrong about this?
Yes.
Do I really want to be wrong about what I'm perceiving right now?
Right.
In that moment, when we say, yes, I want to be wrong, then we give Holy Spirit permission, and then we can accept the atonement, which is that divine exchange for, well, I'm going to give you this, which is my desire to be separate, a separate mythical me. I'm going to give you this in exchange for the memory of my true identity in this holy instant.
So not only are you giving the problem to Holy Spirit, you're giving to Holy Spirit the mind that wants that thinks that it's right about what it's triggered about, and you're also giving Holy Spirit the problem-solving mind, right? The one that wants to be part of the solution. And the way that you know that you're there is when you can say, I want to be wrong about what I'm believing behind this trigger. Now Holy Spirit can enter in, because while you're saying, just take this trigger from me, but back in the back room, you're feeling very justified or that you're right, the Holy Spirit still can't come in. That's not really an invitation.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
We're really pulling the blinders off this ego concept, aren't we?
Yeah, well, we're hiding the parts it doesn't want us to see. It's just, yeah, definitely. Thank you. Yeah, we need to want to be wrong about what we're believing about the trigger. Not just the trigger itself, but the one that's seeing it and the one that's justified and the one that wants to have that knee-jerk reaction to lunge forward and fix. The one that saw it can't fix it. That's something that we have to constantly remind each other of in our joinings, that the one that's triggered or the one that's seeing it cannot be any part of the solution. It's in complete hands off the wheel and handing it over to the part of our mind or the Holy Spirit that can.
So, sis, okay, questions coming through.
Yeah.
So the old way that I used to do forgiveness for that first 15 years or so of practicing A Course in Miracles I think I've mentioned this before, is I had some rather large forgiveness opportunities. Yeah. And I genuinely gave them to Holy Spirit. I thought I did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is what you're talking about, right?
Right. Saying the prayer, Holy Spirit, help me to forgive myself for using this situation to separate. Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it was the ego
Right.
that was forgiving.
Yes.
Or sorry, it can't forgive. It can't love. It can't give love and it can't receive love, right? Because it is the idea of an opposite to love, which is fear. Mm-hmm. So it can't forgive. So that's why it took me so long. It took me almost 15 years of practicing this to get to the point where I wanted to be wrong about my triggers.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's that one. Go ahead.
Which means I also wanted to be wrong about my identity. And I'm just leading on here. It's not just my identity. I wanted to be wrong about the identity that I had given to my brothers as well.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. The recognition that you're not seeing anything as it truly is and nobody as they really are, including yourself and your brother. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'd had enough pain and I wanted to be wrong. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if all of this is leading to when we first begin the course, it's largely the ego that's taking bits from the course and practicing forgiveness. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is.
Until we reach a sincere desire to make that inner change. Mm-hmm. And right. That won't happen until we've exhausted everything through the ego.
Mm-hmm. And Jesus does say that he's aware of all of this, that he stands at the end, and so that when our forgiveness and accepting the atonement falls short, that his view that it makes up for our insufficiencies while we're on this process, so that Holy Spirit maximizes even the littlest willingness that we offer. But we do come to see in time in this process those hidden bits, right? To see the fullness of what's forgiveness is requiring, the full surrender of mythical me on multiple levels. Yeah. So it's an organic process. So take heart. The one that's got you knows, and it will be revealed. But it's been interesting. I got to see the I know mind still running behind the request, to help me to forgive. Well, if you're justified in what you saw and you just want forgiveness for the trigger, or you want sickness to go away or whatever, but you still feel very justified in how you view the trigger, you haven't really made an invitation at all. There's nothing Holy Spirit can work with. It's a complete scouring out and saying, not my will, but thine be done. Yeah. So let's let God be our only singular aim, because only that's real. We want the truth. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's a pretty powerful little lesson, isn't it? Let me remember that my only goal is God.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I put the word only in.
Sorry. I like it. No, it's good. It's true. He's asking us not to pursue toys and trinkets of the world, but replace them with God's grace shining in our awareness. All right. That sounds good. Thanks, family. Thank you, sis. Thanks for unpacking that for us.
Yeah. Thanks, beautiful family. And thank you, sis.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah.